All right, so the preliminaries are over. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes of this campaign. So hopefully you're not scared off just yet. As explained, the training is comprehensive and we take it very, very seriously. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed. We're providing you with a lot of information. Therefore, we're trying to make it manageable by breaking it down into bite-sized pieces so you're not overwhelmed. Now, it is your responsibility to learn this stuff and produce to the best of your ability. If you pay attention and follow our instruction, you're all going to be superstars. So let's get serious for a minute. As I said, it's your responsibility to learn this and take it as seriously as we do. You have a responsibility to yourself to be the best that you can be. You have a responsibility to the owner of the center. You have a responsibility to us. And ultimately, you have a responsibility to our clients. Remember, you're an extension of us. So what you do affects not only you and your center, but it affects us and our reputation with the clients. At the end of the day, if the clients are not making money because they're not making sales, A, they can't afford to keep paying us for these appointments because they'll just be flushing money down the toilet, but they're not going to remain our clients for very long. And if we lose enough clients, we're not going to have a campaign to run for very long. So ultimately, it's up to you to be responsible. Now, let's take it down a level. Let's talk about the owner of your center. That owner invested a lot of money for you to have a job and the luxury of you sitting at your desk. They did not hire you to occupy space, nor did they hire you for your good looks and your charm. They hired you to produce by setting appointments and having those customers sit with our clients. If the appointment sits with the client, then I get paid and your center owner gets paid. The center owner has to pay for the rent, the electric, the internet, pay for the computers that you use, pay for the desks and the furniture that you sit on, and everything else in your office, including your salaries. So just like any other investment, they expect a return on their money. If they don't get the desired return, they're going to get rid of that investment. So think of yourselves as an investment. Each desk in your office is a mini investment, as is the person, meaning you, sitting in that desk. So if that desk or agent is not producing the desired results, they will replace you with someone who can produce. It's just that simple. Now, there's a business principle called the 90-10 rule. What it means is that only 10% of the employees will produce 90% of the company's revenue. It's a sad statement, but that's the reality. So when I speak to owners, I insist that they're constantly churning or firing the bottom 30% of the underperforming agents. So think about that for a second. Firing the bottom 30%. That means for every 10 agents, and look around your room, for every 10 of you, 3 of you will be fired. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. 3 out of every 10 of you will be fired because you're not producing. Now, I do the same thing, but I do it on a larger scale. Instead of firing individual agents, I fire entire centers because they're not producing. They're wasting my time and my energy, not to mention my money. Your owners have to feel the same way. So if you value your job, you're going to take this seriously, follow our instructions, and practice what we teach. Now, I hope I have your attention. And now that we got that out of the way, we can get into the nuts and bolts of the closing script. What I'm going to do is briefly go over it, explain why it was written, the way it was written, and then explain the science behind it. In the next video, we're going to analyze the script in detail and break it all down so you understand every nook and cranny of that script. So what I'm going to do now is read the script, kind of explain what it is I'm talking about a little bit, and then go into detail. So we're going to start off, my name is. Now you're going to want to pick an American sounding name. You may not want to use your own name. Hi, my name's David and I'm calling from Sunray Marketing. What we're doing is calling people in your area that are interested in lowering their electric bill by as much as 60%. This is going to be a win-win opportunity. There's no out-of-pocket expenses for you. And as I said, the electric bill will be cut by as much as 60%. Also, depending on your utility provider, you may also receive additional income by selling your surplus energy back to the electric company. Sounds pretty good, right? So my job's not to sell you anything, but rather to educate you on possibly switching to solar and see if you qualify. If you do, then what we're going to do is create a no-cost, no-obligation proposal for you. The proposal is going to show you exactly how much you could save or even earn by going solar. Does that sound fair? Great. Now, this call may be recorded for training and compliance purposes. So the first step is to see if you qualify by asking you some very simple questions. Do you own the property or do you rent it? You own it. Okay, great. What type of home do you live in? Is it a single family residence, townhouse, condo, mobile home? What type of home do you live in? Perfect, single family home. And what is the average electric bill if you took a 12-month average? $165. Okay, and who's your utility company? Who do you pay your bill to? PG&E? Okay, great. Now, I don't know if you heard this yet, but the federal government wants at least 10% of the homes in the U.S. to be on solar power in the next few years. So if you think about it, that's a pretty big undertaking. So to make this happen for a limited time, they're helping homeowners by paying for 30% of the cost up front by issuing tax incentives. So to assist people to switch to solar, we have created an affordable financing program with the biggest feature being a zero down payment. Now with this program, you're going to be able to significantly reduce or even completely eliminate your electric bill. So to illustrate how this works and to make the numbers easier to understand, let's say your electric bill was $200 a month and the cost of solar panels was only $100 a month. Since you're not going to have an electric bill, you're only going to be paying for the solar panels. Therefore, you're only paying $100 for the solar panels to generate your electricity instead of the $200 that you're currently paying now. Therefore, you're saving $100 a month. Does that make sense? Great. So to recap, it's not going to cost you anything up front, and it's not going to cost you anything out of pocket for the installation either. In addition, some of the states and local governments are also issuing additional tax benefits and rebates to help pay for the system and create additional savings. It's also going to increase your home's value and save the planet in the process. How does that sound? Awesome. Now, I just have a few more qualifying questions. Are there any large trees that you're aware of that shade your roof? No? Okay. And what type of roof do you have? Is composite shingle, wood shingle, clay tile, or metal? It's shingle. Okay. And would you say your roof is pitched like a traditional roof, or is it relatively flat? So the government incentives are based off of your taxable income. I want to make sure that you're eligible and not waste your time and continue if you're not qualified. We also want to figure out what additional options are available to you based off of which tax bracket you're in. Ballpark figure. What is your combined taxable household income? About $65,000. Okay. And are you married? You are. Okay. And does that include your spouse's income? It does. All right. And does that include any investments and or real estate holdings? There are none. Okay. Now I have to ask you whether or not you had any credit issues, had any bankruptcies, foreclosures, any late payments, anything like that in the last couple of years? No? Perfect. You seem to be the perfect candidate for this program and take advantage of all the state and federal incentives to go solar. Now, the next step is to have one of my agents come out and meet with you. The agent's going to look at your house, look at your roof, its condition, its shape, type, as well as a recent copy of your electric bill. And from that information, they're going to create that no cost, no obligation proposal for you. The agent's also going to explain all the options available to you, as well as the pros and cons of each option. That way, you'll have all the information to make an intelligent choice as to whether going solar is right for you or not. Is that fair? Great. When would be the best time for our agents or our agent to come out and meet with you? Would tomorrow or Monday be best for you? Tomorrow. Okay, perfect. And do you like mornings or afternoons? Morning. Okay, 9 a.m. or 11 a.m.? 9 a.m. Okay, perfect. Now, you said you were married. What is your wife going to be at the appointment as well? She is. Okay, great. So let's check your contact information. What is your first and last name, please? Can you spell that phonetically? A as in apple, B as in Bravo, C as in Charlie. David Smith. Okay. D as in Delta, A as in Alpha, V as in Victor, I as in India, D as in David, S as in Sam, M as in Mary, I as in India, T as in Tom, H as in Harry. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. And your wife's name? Mary. Okay. M as in Mary, A as in Apple, R as in Robert, Y as in yes. Correct? Perfect. All right. Now, what we'd like to do is also get your address of the home. What is the address, please? 123 Main Street, That's M as in Mary, A as in Apple, I as in India, N as in Nancy. Okay, and that's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33415. Is that correct? Perfect. All right, now what we'd like to do is call you back and remind you of the appointment. Keep in mind our agent may be coming from a great distance to meet you, so we don't want to waste your time or theirs. What is an alternate phone number for you, please? All right, we'd also like to send you a reminder email for the appointment. What is the email, please? Okay, great. Either myself or someone in my office will be calling you back in the next 15 or 20 minutes and confirm the appointment. Please take the call when it comes. Would that be okay? Excellent. Thank you so much, and we'll be calling you back shortly to confirm. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. And that's basically the script. Now, if you scroll down, you're going to see a list of all the rebuttals. Obviously, we don't live in a perfect world, and there's no such thing as a perfect pitch. Invariably, someone is going to interrupt you with a question, comment, or a concern. You're going to address that question, comment, and concern, and then go back to where you left off. Now, in this case, I was reading it from my computer screen. I do not want you to do that. I want you to have a hard copy in your hand at all times, and I want you to track where you're at in the script with your thumb. That way, when someone interrupts you with a question, comment, or concern, you answer that question, comment, or concern, and then go back to where you left off. Now, because you're tracking it with your fingers, you know exactly where you left off. And we'll talk about that later on. Now, as you can see, the script is very complicated and long. It was designed that way on purpose. Just so you guys know, I did not wake up one morning and put the script together in 15 minutes. Before we opened up the campaign to all the centers, I worked on the script for 3 months, taking calls myself, trying to figure out what worked, where it worked, and why it worked. Working and reworking the script until we have what we have. Now, prior to this version, there was 57 other versions. So there was a lot of work that went into this. It's a multi-dimensional script. Some of it was written for psychological reasons. Some of it was pure salesmanship. Some of it was common sense. And some of it was for legal reasons. It was meant to be delivered as a conversational way rather than sounding like you're trying to sell a used car. I took something very complex and made it easy not only for the agent to deliver, but also for the customer to follow along with. Some of you may be wondering, why is the script so long? It should be shorter. Well, with most campaigns, you would be correct. However, with this campaign, because solar is so complicated, and has so many moving parts and is expensive, meaning it's a big ticket item, it has to be this long. Now, what we found was the longer you have the customer on the phone with you, the more likely the customer will meet with our clients. They have more invested. If they only talk to you for 2 minutes, they'll just blow it off. But if they talk to you for 15 minutes, now they have a little bit more invested in the process. Now, remember, they didn't wake up this morning thinking about solar, nor are they expecting your call. So the last thing we want is for them to set up an appointment and blow it off or forget about it. We want them to be invested. If the client does not meet with the customer, then no one gets paid. Not you, not me, nobody. And the client's going to be upset because they wasted time driving across town to go meet with the customer that wasn't there. Now, if that happens enough times, they're not going to be my client for very long. So we have to do everything in our power to make the customer remember the appointment and follow through with the appointment. Now, I know myself that when I worked on other campaigns for other people, the first thing I did when someone gave me a script was rewrite it, because quite simply, they were just garbage scripts. Someone spent 15 minutes writing a script and said, okay, go with it. That's not the case with this script. If you follow it to a T and deliver it the way it was intended, you're going to be doing very well for yourself and for your owner. Now, some of you may feel that you want to shorten it or take shortcuts. Don't. I mean that, don't. First off, by doing that, you're telling me that you are smarter than I am. I don't take kindly to that. Secondly, every word in the script has a meaning and was placed there on purpose. The third reason is, if you don't follow the script word for word, the meaning is going to be taken out of context by the customer. It's not going to make sense to them, and you're going to sound like an idiot, and you will fail miserably. Now, there's also another reason. Remember, each call is recorded. Your managers and your owners have access to these recordings. I do. So do all my managers. But most importantly, our clients have access to these recordings as well. I can tell you this, the clients are not shy about asking for refunds. They're looking for any excuse not to pay for a lead. The biggest reason for a refund is because the agent did not follow the script, or they said something that they shouldn't have said to begin with. They added something to the script. We do not want to run our clients under the bus by saying something that may or may not be true. We want to leave that to the agents that go to meet with these customers. So do us all a favor and follow the KISS principle. That's KISS. It stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the script as it was written, and deliver it the way it was intended, and you're going to be highly successful. Okay, so what you're looking at is a flow chart I created. It's called The Science Behind the Telemarketing for Solar. And what it's basically saying is if you go from left to right, this is simply a numbers game. The more calls you make, the more people you're going to speak with. The more people you speak with, the more pitches, the more pitches, the more applications, the more applications, the more money. It's no more complicated than that. So what to expect for each agent? Well, each agent should make somewhere between, they should speak with somewhere between 500 and 800 people a day. And from that, they should be submitting 4 deals a day. So at the very minimum, that's 1 out of 125 people that you speak with. So how do the numbers work? If you boil it down, let's say an agent made 500 calls. 99% of them are not going to be good. That means 495 calls are no good. 5 calls will last 4 minutes or longer. So at the end of the day, only 5 calls really matter, and you need to take advantage of them. Think of it like fishing. Fishing is the most boring sport there is until there's a fish on the line. Everybody in the boat gets excited when somebody has a fish on the line. They stop what they're doing, they start yelling, they start moving, they get really excited. Well, it's the same thing in a call center. So if you're plugging away and you're casting your line all day long, you're waiting for that one fish to bite. Well, in this case, we boiled your whole day down to 5 calls. They're going to last 4 minutes or longer. So how do you do that? Well, there's a science behind it. If you don't follow the science, you're going to fail. So what we did was we divided the pitch into 3 sections. The first section is the beginning. It's the first 60 to 90 seconds of the pre-qualification process. We're explaining who we are, what we do, why we're calling, and giving them a reason to answer our questions. We're looking for interest and cooperation and to see if they pre-qualify. We do not want to waste time with people who we cannot help. If they answer our questions, they're at least showing mild interest and cooperation. If they don't meet all the pre-qualifications, we can't help them. There's no point continuing, no matter how interested they are. So again, the pre-qualifications, they must own their home, not a renter. They must be a single family residence, not a townhouse, condo, mobile home, manufactured home, or any other type of home. And their electric bill must be $100 or more. Now, if we go back to the script, that's exactly what we're doing here. This is the first part. All right, up until this point, we've already figured out whether they qualify, pre-qualify, or they don't. Well, if they don't, get rid of the call and go on to the next one. We're one person closer to the person that we want to speak with. Again, there's only going to be 5 calls a day that actually matter. Now, because there's only 5 calls a day that actually matter, you have to take advantage of each and every one of them. So if you get this far in the script, we want you at this point to stand up and get out of your chair. Now, why did I just say that? I know it sounds hokey, it sounds stupid, it sounds crazy. Well, there's a couple of psychological reasons for that. First of all, if you're sitting at your desk, you're staring at your computer screen. Therefore, your eye level is equal to that of the computer screen. You're pitching at eye level. Whereas if you're standing up, you're looking down at your computer screen, therefore giving you a psychological leverage. So instead of you looking at your computer screen and imagining someone you're speaking with, you're doing the same thing, imagining someone you're speaking with, but you're looking down on them. Therefore, that creates a psychological leverage. Secondly, I said that I want you to have a hard copy of your script in your hand. I do not want you reading the script from the screen. Now, to this day, when I pitch, I still have a hard copy of the script in my hand. Well, it's not because I don't know the script. Hell, I wrote it. I know it backwards and forwards. I do it, A, because psychologically it's like a security blanket. It makes me feel more comfortable. But more importantly, I follow every paragraph I'm on with my fingers, because I know somewhere in that script, someone is going to interrupt me with a question, a comment, or a concern. Now, my job as the agent is not to, if someone interrupts you with a question, comment, or concern, you don't blow off and ignore their question, comment, or concern. You answer their question, comment, and concern and go back to where you left off in the script. So if you follow where you're at in the script, you know exactly where you're at. And there's no interruptions, there's no pausing, there's no fumbling and mumbling around. You sound confident. You sound like you know what you're talking about. If you're standing up and you have the script in your hand, not only do you sound authoritative, but you sound more confident. Your voice sounds more confident. And that comes through on the phone. I guarantee it. The customers can hear it in your voice. If I was slumped over in my desk and I have my head in my hand and I'm going through the motions of making these calls. Hi, my name is David. I'm with XYZ. I'm calling you blah, 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 blah. That's exactly how it sounds. You sound like you're falling asleep at your desk and you could not be interested one iota. Whereas if you're standing up, you have energy and you have confidence. Motion creates motion, which creates energy. And that transfers over the phone, I promise you. So stand up, get out of your chair. Take advantage of those 5 calls that you're looking for. And go on with the rest of the script, right? So this is the body of the script. It's explaining more or less why you're giving them reason to answer the more complicated, more personal questions, which are in part 3. In other words, think of it as like telling a joke. You have to tell the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then you tell the punchline. Well, this is section 2 is more or less the setup of the joke. It's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Part 3 is really the punchline of the joke. Well, if you just told a joke and told the punchline without setting it up correctly, it's not funny. So going back to this matrix, you have the beginning and then you have the middle. Now the middle part, what we do is we divide it into 15-second increments. Why? Because that's what someone's attention span is, 15 seconds. So you have 15 seconds to come across to keep the customer's interest. You're not trying to go from the beginning of the script to the end of the script. You're fighting for 15 seconds. The goal is not to get to the end of the script. The goal is to get to the next 15 seconds by capturing their attention. So again, we want you to stand up. We want you to get out of your chair. Take advantage of these 5 or 10 calls that matter. As I said, there's 3 reasons to stand up. Motion creates energy. It creates confidence. It gives you leverage. It creates excitement in the office. But more importantly, it gives them reason to stay with you. We don't want their attention span to be lost. So the third part of the script is the closing. It's getting all the required information to fill out that web form completely and correctly. Now we'll be talking about that for later on, about the web form and how to fill it out and how to do it, etc. Again, here we're talking about the 15 seconds. Capture and keep their attention until you say the next thing that keeps and captures their attention. The goal is not to sell solar. The goal is to complete the script and set the appointment. But in order to do it, you have to do it in 15-second intervals. Now, I hope this makes sense. I know we went through a lot of information, so I want you to take a break right now. And when you come back, we'll do a quiz, and then we'll go on to the next one.